Three lessons learned from working with Olympic and professional athletes, and how this applies to you working on your life relaunch. It is rethink, reinvent, and relaunch your life, and all the extra tips that we need to really make it successful. This occurred to me that it was so important because when I was a sports psychologist working with Olympic and professional athletes, I discovered three lessons that really stood out that I know will help you in your life relaunch. So let's get started. This is critical today because as we're trying to relaunch our lives into a world that has so dramatically changed, we need all the hints, all the tips, all the tricks, everything that we can possibly wrap our minds around to really help us. That's why I wanted to share this particular experience that I had with you. Here is your playbook. Where does the story begin? The story begins as I was beginning to work with these Olympic and professional athletes at a big university that had a sports medicine department. And they would work with all the sports medical people, like with anything that was happening with their body or in relation to, like, if they were a hockey skater, like something with that. Anyway, then they came to the sports psychologist. The thing that's interesting, of course, is that they are highly trained, especially at that level, from the neck down, not from the neck up. And that's where all this comes into play. Because when you're talking with Olympic and professional athletes that are talking in terms of nanoseconds and talking in terms of, I just need a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and those little bits begin to add up to either gold or championships. So I wanted you to understand that. And to begin, I want to do just a little experiment with you. And I want you to pay attention to this. Now, when I say to you, don't think of the color blue. What do you think of? Blue. You think of, well, now I'm confused. Should I think of red, polka dot, purple, whatever? When you're an athlete, and let me give you an example of a professional hockey player that I was working with, and his scoring was beginning to fall off. So that was why I was working with him. So we were talking about what did he do as he was skating down the ice, and he would shoot for the goal, and he would miss. And I would say, well, what are you saying to yourself? What happens at that point? Because everything is going so rapidly. And he's saying, don't shoot so left. Don't shoot so left. And I said, okay, that's just like, don't think of the color blue. That loses momentum for them because it confuses the body. Because the connection between mind and body is very profound. So we began to shift that kind of thing. But that doesn't happen all that easily. And there was a story that Tony Robbins tells that I think is totally fascinating. He has such great control over himself. He wanted to learn how to drive a Formula One car, or some sort of high-speed thing. So he went to this special school, and the instructor was saying, okay, here's some points here, and so on and so forth, but we have to do something that will help you avoid being really seriously hurt in a crash. And so he says, okay, so they're going forward and they're going really fast, and pretty soon something happens and they're headed to the wall where a crash was very likely to take place. And the instructor said, look the other direction, look the other direction. And 3 times the man had to pull Tony Robbins' head to the other side. I want you to look where you are going. I want you to know where it is you want to shoot that puck to. And those are very important lessons in life and when you're competing at that level. So these things we're going to cover as we go step by step. Now, when the athletes came in, the very first thing is they had pure curiosity. Like, what are you going to tell me? Like, I really want to know. Wasn't, well, what are you going to tell me? You have to convince me first. No, that was never, ever there. It was pure curiosity. And with that, they would sit forward in anticipation, like, okay, I really want to learn this. What is this? And I would talk about explaining how the brain works, how it functions, what it means to them when something is happening up here, and then what's going to happen to the rest of their body. What is self-instruction? How do you reduce stress? These were the different aspects that we covered that they were curious about. Then they were enthused to try. Like, okay, I've got this information now. Now I'm going to get out there and try it. But it wasn't just, well, I just want to go try it. No, it was an enthusiasm for trying it. And the thing that was so interesting, though, and so profound, and one of the things I want you to really grab hold of, because especially when you're involved in a life relaunch, there are things we have to try that we don't know the outcome. But unless we try it, we can't make our proper adjustments. And that was always what happened. So they would try it, and what else? So that's the third lesson. And that is, okay, I tried this, it worked, now what? I tried that, it didn't work, and now what? What next? What next? So that when we get into those places with your life relaunch program, it's like, okay, what's next? And what I want to do is I want to teach you something that I did teach them. And it's like a special tip, but it's more than that. It's very profound. And it's something called anchoring. And anchoring is when you bring into your awareness some wonderful things that have happened to yourself. Since we're in the athletic realm, let's think about, okay, I'm going to run really fast today, or I'm going to be able to work with this meeting and be very clear in my thoughts and in my directions. I'm going to remember these 4 points when I'm up in front of an audience, whatever it is. And you did it very, very successfully. You're bringing in things that you did that were a bit of a challenge, and you did them successfully. Okay, pick one of those things. I'm going to pick one like when I gave a very great presentation that ended up getting a standing ovation. All right, now what I'm going to do, I bring in those feelings like, wow, I really hit it right on. And I'm going to put together my index finger and my thumb. And I'm going to gently press. I am going to anchor in that memory. Think of at least 3 more things that you would like to anchor in that were really wonderful, rewarding experiences. Maybe it's when your spouse said yes to getting married, or it can be even something in your imagination, but you feel it. You feel the whole thing. The minute you really feel it, you anchor that in. Index finger to the thumb. Not heavy pressure, just enough. Now, what is the magic of that is that when you get in a tense situation, a rough situation, a fearful situation, what you do is you press the index finger and the thumb together. You don't really need to be thinking about a great event or process or situation where you were really great. It will start to come in and flood your body with that memory. I have worked with this with athletes. They love it. with TV anchors that get really nervous when the set gets totally crazy in so many different ways. Remember, it's anchoring wonderful experiences in your life that have very positive feelings to them. So take that as your tip from the 3 lessons of working with Olympic and professional athletes and how you're going to work with that in your life relaunch. Where this fits into the whole process of the life relaunch is into the orange level, and that's part 3. Part 3 is where we're digging for diamonds, where we're looking at all these extra special parts of ourselves. And when we find them, how do we enhance those parts? And this particular video is about how to enhance those parts. We've got to learn to work with ourselves. There's so many hidden ways that once we know them and we learn them and use them, it makes our life, it makes our relaunch so much easier. Really, what went on is these people and you have a fierce drive to learn more. You don't know unless you try it. But you know what's interesting with you and with any of these athletes? They never, ever knew the outcome. We are just out there going and putting forth the best effort that we possibly can put forth. They didn't know if they were going to win gold, silver, bronze, a championship, or whatever it was. But what they did know is that you have the thrill that when you go all out, that is something very special. Things can be retried again, they can be relaunched again, but you have been all out and done your very best. Thank you from Life Relaunch Blueprint. And below, you can subscribe. I would appreciate that. And you will too, because you'll get a lot more of these. Try these things. You'll find that it really improves and smooths out your whole relaunch process. Again, thank you